and be upfront with it because it's their opportunity. They may lose their job or the way their community may perceive them.
Right.
Where actually that guy that we just kind of modeled up probably exists, and there's probably more that wish they could. Because I know some of those people. Excuse me. That's why we here at this roundtable, and like I said, I'm gonna keep commending you guys here, your voice. That's why I've always joined the roundtable, because I appreciate your voice and Sean being out there. We are those guys that can help bring those guys to light, because those guys exist and they need it, because it's just like having a beer. If Dad needs to take maybe his pain medicine in the morning, we'll give a different example that we know is real. Dad gets up, takes some pain medicine because he has arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
Then he comes home and maybe kicks off his shoes and has a beer.
Mm-hmm.
And then right before bed, maybe he smokes a cigar or a cigarette. What's any different from that guy and the guy that does the cannabis?
Well, the guy that does the tobacco is probably going to die of lung cancer in about 20 years.
So there's a lot more harmful side of it, and that's why I gave that example, because that guy, for one, depending upon those pills he took in the morning, they could be a depressant or antidepressant.
Right.
Then he had a drink, possibly stopped it for after work for happy hour or something with guys at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Then went home and then had something else, a cigar. That is, like you said, is going to be more harmful to his life than, hey man, let me get up, smoke a bowl, get my day going, and keep going.
And not just harmful to his life, though, because you're talking about somebody who just consumed alcohol and drove.
Correct.
That is dangerous to everyone around.
Everyone.
So if you have person A and person B, person A every day after work stops and has a few beers on the way home.
Mm-hmm.
Person B stops and has a few bowls on the way home. One of those people is going to be more reckless with their driving. They're going to be more in a hurry to get somewhere. They're going to be less cautious. And then the other one is going to probably drive slower, be more cautious, because they understand that they're impaired. When you're impaired from alcohol, it's hard for the brain to process the fact that, yes, I am impaired. And a lot of times a male's ego, or truly anyone's ego, could be to the point where, oh, I haven't had enough to actually be impaired. When the reality is, you're probably fucked up, and you don't have any reason to be driving that car.
Right.
So the person driving the car who's under the influence of alcohol is way more dangerous than the person who's under the influence of marijuana.
Yeah. Hey, so I got a good example I'd like to share with the community. So I've asked in every state that has legal marijuana. I asked cops. I like talking to cops. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, who would you rather pull over? Car A has a potential marijuana smoker, may have had something there, may have had a joint or something there, and then car B potentially had some drinks, just left the bar. Every one of them said they'd rather pull up on that person with the marijuana, possibly, because they know he or she is less likely to be engaged in a tense situation. And they said now that they see it, a lot of them are speaking out like, yeah, that engagement is just a lot calmer, period. Mm-hmm. Even when you get pulled over, you're nervous because it's illegal in certain states. But other than that, you're not out of your your ordinary. You're not discombobulated. You might be a little loaded, but you're not where you can't comprehend. I've been drinking, like, man, I didn't know I got home that night.
Well, as a person who has gotten a DUI before, who has driven behind the wheel with alcohol, I'm gonna tell you something right now. Like, it's not a joke. You know what I mean? You really can kill yourself. But
and others.
But I'm gonna say I know both sides. You know, having my few years of life, the experience that I've been able to get is when I'm under the influence of cannabis. It's like I care more about stopping at the nearest Taco Bell or the nearest McDonald's than I do about like how fast I'm driving.
I mean, I drive stoned almost every single day of my life. I've had 2 speeding tickets. I'm 33 years old. I've been driving since I was 16. I've had 2 speeding tickets in my life. And like I said, I smoke and drive because I get tense and stressed out and anxious in a traffic type situation. I get stressed out when some idiot almost runs me off the road while I'm just trying to drive down the street because they're in such a big hurry that they can't be bothered to drive safely. And so for me, that having cannabis in the car actually diffuses my desire to engage in road rage, which, I think every male when they're growing up and they're 16, 17, they want to race everyone off that red light. They want to be fast, they want to be first. But when you're smoking cannabis, you are cognizant that you're impaired. Especially if you're a daily cannabis consumer, you know your sort of limit. The thing about consuming marijuana is the body knows how to self-titrate. So, and what that means is when you've reached your limit, you know very quickly that, whoa, I'm done. Whereas when you're drinking, I mean, you could reach your limit and just blow straight past them and have no idea.
Die of binge drinking. So let's remember that.
Yeah, I mean, and so to me, you know, if we're worried about people driving aggressively, driving under the influence of things, well, then let's have a limit of what impairment is. Yeah. Impairment is not a numeric value because you've got a different body type than me. Yeah. So your limit is going to be different than mine based on your weight, based on all kinds of
genetics.
And so it shouldn't be based on like alcohol is 0.08, that you're intoxicated at that point. I would argue that people are intoxicated before that, depending on their size, depending on how much they consume. And so having this arbitrary number, this, like, for example, per se DUID, which means you've got a certain amount of active cannabis in your system at the time that you're popped or pulled over. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that you were driving recklessly. That doesn't necessarily mean anything other than you have cannabis in your system. Whereas with alcohol, that is a dangerous substance that you could actually cause harm to others.
So as we close out on the topic, what would you say? I will leave it to the round table. What would you say about the, you know, in response to the Attorney General's recent actions to make it harder for this legal industry to thrive in a more responsible environment?
I'll go ahead and go first. My response to him is thank you, actually. I think you opened the eyes of some of those people that we needed. Sometimes you have to get that sleeping giant awake. And I think sometimes if it gets worse, or at least appears to get worse, it'll get better. And so I'm actually kind of thankful of it because it's going to push the people that aren't sure. Because I think those of us that are here, part of this roundtable community, and the viewers and the community that both of you guys have created, we believe and we know at some point that tipping point is coming. So that's going to push those people